Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Cinema Wave podcast here at the Culture Wave Media Network, and we are back to discuss Karate Kid Legends. It is a film starring Ben Wang, Jackie Chan, and Ralph Macchio, as well as Joshua Jackson, Ming-Na Wen, and Sadie Stanley. We're back with the Cobra Kai crew for this one. Obviously, I'm going to be one of your hosts. My name is Darian Scalamoni. Welcome back, Ella Lambiazzi.
Hello, everyone.
And Michael Peniston.
Hello.
So when this movie was first announced, I think we actually had a conversation on the Cobra Kai series finale. I think we talked about this movie being made and we were like, how are they going to interconnect it? So first thing for everybody, before we go into spoilers, you don't need to see any of Cobra Kai to see this movie. So that's the first thing. So before we get into the actual nuance of like what the movie is and things like that, we're all big Cobra Kai fans here. Were you upset with the fact that there's no interconnectivity, Ella, with Karate Kid Legends, even though we do get Daniel LaRusso, and we don't hear any connection to Cobra Kai whatsoever?
In short, yes. Honestly. That's one of the things that I think I was looking forward to most in this movie, hoping that there was some kind of connection to, I don't know, maybe I was holding on to some part that still wanted more of Cobra Kai, but I don't know, like even just a mention or something that Daniel would say or another guest star or something, but I don't know. But yeah. I was a little like I was looking for that.
Michael, what about you?
I agree 100%. It goes a little bit further than just a Cobra Kai reference or anything like that. I wanted some more Karate Kid references. I'll leave it at that, but like it just like there was no connection, and they really, again, I think I agree with you where it's coming off of this Cobra Kai high, almost still wanting more of it, but like it was I didn't like their choice and not connecting it at all. I think it was not smart on their part, especially coming off of the hype. They could have played into it a little bit more, but bad move on their part.
Yeah, for me, I think that it goes back to the fact that they shouldn't have made this movie in the first place if they were not going to kind of had a continuation of Cobra Kai, even with the fact that Cobra Kai ended less than, was it 6 months ago, maybe?
Yeah.
And then this movie comes out 6 months later. I know that the creators of Cobra Kai initially were not involved at all. I think that there was a process that came, I'm double checking, I'm looking on IMDb, but I'm pretty sure they did eventually get some producing credit. You know what? They didn't. So maybe they were just contributors coming in later, like consultants, maybe in a sense. Ralph Macchio is an executive producer on this. He did recently say that he specifically like talked to the studio and was like, this movie cannot come out until Cobra Kai is wrapped. And he was right in that sense, I'll say. But this is a film that takes reference of basically both new versions of Miyagi, so to speak. So you have Mr. Han, who is played by Jackie Chan, the iconic, the legendary Jackie Chan. He did play the Miyagi 2 Jaden Smith in, is it 2010? The 2010 Karate Kid?
I believe so. And
then we have Daniel LaRusso, played by Ralph Macchio, who now we've seen for 6 seasons of Cobra Kai, is in that Miyagi sort of version of himself now, also playing into being a secondary mentor to Ben Wang's character, whose name is Li Fong. And let's start by going over that aspect of it, because they're not in the movie that much. So for a movie that's only an hour and 35 minutes, I think they're probably only in the last 35 minutes of the movie, which is an interesting choice. So Michael, for you, now Michael, give reference, Ella, have you seen Karate Kid from 2010 or no?
No.
You haven't seen it. Okay.
Which it makes me feel like a fake fan.
Not a fake
honestly.
fan. I also haven't seen it.
Oh, okay.
But I know that Michael adores that movie. And so the fact that a character that's central to that movie is also so central to this story, and the fact that he's also the great uncle to this character, Li Fong. How did you feel about, because you already discussed, you're like, there's not a lot of Karate Kid in this. The shoehorning of aspects of the Miyagi verse, if you want to call it that. I know they call it that. They call it that. I know that the creators of Cobra Kai do. For you, as a fan of that 2010 movie, and obviously the whole universe of Karate Kid, what was your reaction to seeing things play out in this movie? Because it feels like a bunch of scenes that are just kind of thrown together. It doesn't feel like something that plays like a traditional movie. It seems that it kind of picks and chooses when it wants to give certain detail, and it doesn't necessarily dive into things on a deeper level. So talk to me a little bit about that aspect of it.
Oh boy. Yeah. I feel like this film compared to the 2010 film, I'm a big fan of that film, mainly just because of Jaden Smith, and I feel like it's, you know, it has like it's also kind of like a black movie. You can like describe it as that, and so for a young 10-year-old me, that was like, oh, I'm a Karate Kid. Like that's why it resonated so well with me. For the sake of the Miyagi verse, if you do want to put it that way, I feel like that's the only reason why this movie had to be made. Essentially, it seems like it seemed like Cobra Kai was an endpoint for that storyline and those characters and a lot of the main Karate Kid characters, but they also established that film, which is like another thing in itself, just completely. And I feel like this was a way for them to tie the films together, but also give that an ending as well, so it could kind of wrap up it all. I don't think it worked at all. I think that Han in this film, it was cool. It was nice to have Jackie Chan in the film, but I feel like, and with this, along with a lot of other things in this film, were very much shoehorned in here. I feel like there was no real reason to. The plot of this film didn't make a lot of sense to me. And like you said, Darian, like the structure of it plays out like you can kind of tell what they're trying to do, but like it plays out really weird. But going even into his role in this and that interconnectivity with that film, I feel like they establish it just for the role of being like, oh, we're continuing this story. Like, remember how this ended? Like, look where he's at now. We're just gonna keep going with it. But then like do that for 5 minutes and then switch to a different movie and then bring it back to that. And like you said, the last 35 minutes. So it was cool, and I appreciated the fact that like, oh, okay, like they want to connect these films. They want to give the story like a little bit more of an ending, but this was not the way to do it. And I just feel like they barely even connected it to that film, to be honest.
Ella?
One thing I felt like when I was watching it was the movie felt very montagey.
100%.
Which when I make films, I like editing fast and I like fast-paced things, but for something like this, I just don't think it works. Because when I found out the movie was only an hour and a half, I was genuinely surprised. Before watching it, like I was like, wow, like they're gonna do like all of this in an hour and a half. I don't know, but it definitely like, and every montage has a similar style. I don't know. It just felt like I was watching like a big montage.
Yeah, so. I was nervous in hearing the runtime of an hour and a half from the very beginning, because I was like, so if you could only craft 90 minutes of story, is it worth telling the story at this point in time? And for like, so Jackie Chan, I talked about it. I don't think I said it on camera, but off camera, I was like, I really love Jackie Chan in this movie. And I was like, but I don't know if part of that is because I really like Mr. Han, or it's just so nice to see Jackie Chan on screen again. Like, I love the Rush Hour trilogy so much, and I haven't seen Jackie Chan do something this big probably since either Rush Hour 3 or Karate Kid, whichever one came more recently. And even Karate Kid was 15 years ago at this point. Yeah. And you see that he's even like, I've never seen Jackie Chan gray before, and now we're seeing Jackie Chan gray, you know? Yeah. But the interesting thing about like the shoehorning is that it jump starts from the very beginning of the movie. So you have this animated intro, which is stylistically, it's cool. It's well done. It's artistic. It's different. But what its effectiveness is just basically giving the audience some sort of reference to try to make Han and Miyagi connect. Because I'm pretty sure you were the one who told me off screen that like there's no connection to Mr. Miyagi in the 2010 Karate Kid. He's just basically playing a new version of Mr. Miyagi, because at that point Cobra Kai wasn't a thing. They weren't even in development on that series yet. That series didn't come out till 6 years after the fact. So it was really just kind of making a remake and modernizing it. And instead of having Mr. Miyagi in Los Angeles, they basically had Jaden Smith's character move to China. So they have at least that reference to where like we start in Beijing. But at the same time, they had to find a way in the beginning of the movie to connect Han to Miyagi to make it somewhat relevant that he would eventually get back to Daniel.
I did not realize that they had no connection. Honestly, I thought that was just something I missed from that movie.
And they were like replaying for the fans that hadn't seen it. Yeah.
So like when I saw the beginning, I was like, oh, okay, I guess this is something I didn't see in the 2010 movie. And then that made me feel like I needed to finish this movie and go watch the 2010 version so I could understand it more. But I guess not.
No, they just shoehorned that in. So for you, like, was that something you appreciated because it did add into the Karate Kid lore? Or were you just like, this feels so forced? Because I felt like it was forced.
No, I feel like it was forced. I feel like everything in this movie is forced. I feel like, and that's like one of my main gripes with this film is that not only is it forced, but they do it so fast that it's like you have no time to even try to appreciate it. You know what I'm saying? And like, well, I'm sure like as we kind of go into the scenes, like that explanation will come out more. But like, it's just like, things were not rewarding at all throughout the entirety of this film. So, I mean, a part of me appreciated it, I guess, to a degree. But I think it is just, again, like coming off of like, oh, yeah, like I saw him before. Like, cool. Like we're seeing him again. But it's just like, I don't know. I also like it's a very different version of this version of Han is a very, very different version of him in the older film. The 2010 film, like he like plays like a Johnny LaRusso essentially in that version. Like he's like the major
Johnny Lawrence.
Johnny,
you mean
Johnny LaRusso?
Johnny LaRusso. You're combining characters now, just like they're doing in Karate Kid Legends.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, they're buddies though. It happens. What's it got? No, but it's like he plays like the Johnny Lawrence essentially in like that film where he's like the old guy that finds and stumbles across Jaden Smith, and like the same storyline, but like he's not like this like, oh, like I already have like a dojo, and it's like no, it's cool to see the change in that and the growth, I guess you could say, in between. But again, it's in between. Like what happened in between? Where's Jaden Smith? Like he never even brought him up. Who are all these kids at this dojo? Like things like that. I'm just like, all right, this is so forced and rushed.
Yeah, so I think that I'm going to talk about one of the positives of the movie before we jump into the actual story, because I do think Ben Wang, I personally believe, is a star in the making. I think the kid has a lot of charisma. He's obviously a very talented martial artist. He actually led a Disney Plus series even before this called American Born Chinese, which had like a lot of bigger Asian actors like Michelle Yeoh and Ke Huy Quan were both in that series on Disney Plus, and I know Disney had like a big marketing push for that. Unfortunately, it didn't do well with audiences, but I know critics really liked it. It got the one season. But for me, he is the one thing that keeps the movie moving forward in a positive way. The unfortunate thing is that we don't really get enough of him, and so much of it is you brought up, Michael, how you're like, this movie doesn't make a lot of sense. And the one thing that's really interesting directorially that they go in a direction with, or story-wise, I should say, because it might not be a directing thing, it's the script. But Joshua Jackson's character in this film is not that he's not needed necessarily, but it's a driver of the story that it completely takes you away from what Li Fong is doing. It's just like, oh, well, now this kid is going to train an adult to go box. And which is also crazy. And I heard this thing actually on one of Ralph Macchio's interviews promoting this film, where the interviewer had said to him back in the 80s that there was a rumor that they wanted to do, or after the fact, they wanted to do the first attempt to bring back Karate Kid in some way. They wanted to have Ralph Macchio and Sylvester Stallone and their kids, like for Rocky and Daniel LaRusso, both their kids being like losers, and they had to train them. And I don't know if they were going to fight each other or how that was going to end up. But there's like an element of that, once I heard that now and knowing like the boxing element, that somehow has wiggled its way into this script. because to me, I was like, why do we even have a boxer in a karate movie? Like it's never made sense to me. So Ella, for you, one, Ben Wang is a character, and did you enjoy him? Did you not enjoy him? And the story, kind of how it progressed with his character and Joshua Jackson's character, who plays Lapani is the last name. I forget the first. Victor Lapani. Yeah.
I really liked watching Ben Wang. That was one thing that was really interesting in this film. But I was a little confused when he started training him for boxing. That's not something I expected because I didn't really know much about the movie, I guess, going into it, because I just wanted it to be more of a surprise. But I thought it was going to go more in a direction of the karate when he was looking in the dojo and he saw all the people fighting, but then it totally turned around into boxing, which was cool. But I don't know, I didn't understand why he was training someone else at first, because I thought he was going to be the one being trained, but then I thought okay, this is his way of fighting because he's not allowed to fight, so he's kind of fighting through Victor's character. That's kind of what I came to a conclusion with watching it, so it made more sense, I guess. But
or were you forcing yourself to make sense of something that didn't make sense?
Yeah.
Maybe I something guess. More along the lines of that. That's what I mean. Yeah.
But now I'm hearing about that Rocky thing. That sounds awesome. I wish they had done that.
You're interested in seeing that?
Yeah. I mean, if they already did a boxing movie, they should have casted Sylvester Stallone.
I feel like now they've already made it so perfect though, where it's they have Creed and they have the Cobra Kai. They spun off in the right way. I think we winded up getting the best case scenario of it. But Michael, Ben Wang for you, and including that boxing training sort of element to it, how did you feel about that aspect of it?
So I liked Ben Wang. I liked him a lot. I feel like he is a star in the making for sure. He's very funny, and I know that it was acting, but my guy was smooth. There were times where he was talking, I was like, okay, all right, let's play, okay.
He had so much chemistry. Him and the girl had so much chemistry.
For
That's
sure.
one thing I noticed.
That was one of the positives, the standouts of the movie. I would agree with that.
Definitely. So yeah, definitely praises to Ben, but as far as with the other question, it was
so kind of that training of Victor's character and taking it in that direction rather than kind of making the focus on Lee.
That's right.
For that whole third of the movie, the whole middle part of the movie.
Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong. The last season of Cobra Kai, we got a little bit of a boxing element thrown in there, correct? Where it was Daniel found out that there was some boxing going on. Did I dream that, or wasn't that something that was
actually
thrown?
That was something. Now that you're mentioning it, but it was Silver in that last season with Sensei Wolf.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, he connected with Wolf and the Iron Dragons through some boxing ring, but I think that was kind of it. But maybe there was something with the Miyagi storyline too. I'm not 100% sure, but there was a scene in a boxing ring and Silver was there.
Right,
that's what I remember.
I vaguely remember. Maybe it was part 2 of the finale.
The 3-part finale. Yeah,
but I think there was a Miyagi scene where he found out Mr. Miyagi was boxing at one point. I mean, I could be completely off with this.
I think you might be right, honestly. Because that connected him back to Silver, and there was some manipulation or something that Terry was trying to do.
Exactly. So the only reason I even bring that up is because that's the only reason I could see this making a little bit of sense, bringing boxing into the midst, and hearing the Rocky idea. I agree, that would have been really cool. I would love to see that idea. But as far as again how the boxing played out and what they did with it in this film, it was why did they do it? I don't get it, to be honest. I kind of get why they tried to do the whole Ben training him. I see the point as far as him not being able to fight and doing it through him, but and I kind of get them wanting to change up this story. I feel like we've seen now with all these Karate Kid movies that it is basically the same thing. There's a villain, there's the weaker guy that wants to fight, and there's a dirty move, everything like that. It's so I see them trying to change that up in this script and try and be different, but it really I was taken out of the film mainly because none of this was promoted. I didn't even know Victor's character was going to be in this based off the trailer.
Yeah, me too.
And so I was that was the point in which I was all right, what's really going on here? And I think it was cool. The boxing montage, not montage, but like the scenes we got were really cool. But that was the moment where I was watching that, like that scene where he was fighting, where I was like, yo, there's like barely even karate in this movie. like they really aren't even doing a lot now that I think about it. And I think that was, for me, the theater experience was amplified in the comedy sense, mainly because of my mom. I saw my mom and my sister, and my mom was one of those people that was like audibly out loud at certain things. And it was a certain part when he was training Victor, when like my mom audibly went like, what the heck is going on? And it was just so, and I just like died of laughter, but it was so like on the nail as far as like, what are we watching? Like, this is not like, I get what they're trying to do, but this isn't Karate Kid. This isn't what I thought it was going to be.
I think that they split the movie into, again, these 3/3, and each third doesn't connect to the other 2/3 of the movie. It doesn't feel like a natural progression. So the first third of the movie is when we actually get kind of a focus on Li. And the relation, I will say this too, which is really upsetting. The connection between Li and his mother is non-existent in this movie. And Ming-Na Wen is a fantastic actress. She's amazing. She's legendary. She's done work for literally decades, in actual kung fu movies, in Hollywood, all these things. I was really disappointed with her character in this movie, and the fact that there's basically no connection on a deeper sense between the two of them. She's basically just a talking head, just to be there at the end to finally be that last bit of encouragement that Li would need to win the final battle, essentially. So that was really disappointing. But the thing that works throughout the movie that they kept in it is the relationship between Li and Mia, to the sense where every single scene with them, you actually feel the charm. You know, like even the scene, like the last, I guess, romantic flirty type scene they get before the tournament or during the tournament, when she goes and delivers the pizza on the rooftop, and Wyatt Olef does a really good job, and a small supporting character is Alan. I think he plays like the geeky friend really well. And that moment, even for me, like you still feel that that's driving the force of the movie. When the fact of the matter is, it is a karate movie at the end of the day, and so much of that original Karate Kid, there is the heart of the relationship between Daniel and Ali. Yes, Ali. And for me, like, that's the thing that worked, that they kind of carry over from the original movie. But the karate sense with Li's character is very odd, because he goes from being someone that you see had clearly been training karate for... This is probably my biggest problem with the movie, and maybe it's yours too. And maybe yours too. So Li has obviously been training kung fu for a very long time with his great uncle. And the first fight he gets into, he gets his ass beat completely. He gets his ass beat by this kid. Now, that's Karate Kid trope. Fine. He then beats the shit out of 3 adult men in an alley and is doing flips off walls. It's all this stuff where it doesn't feel earned at that point. And what it does, it effectively just introduces you to that Victor storyline that is that middle part of the movie, which, again, you said is not even in the marketing. I think there's a reason for that, because it clearly probably didn't test well. And they didn't want to showcase that for audiences, because they're like, well, we're only here for Jackie Chan and Daniel LaRusso and this new Karate Kid. Like, why would we care about this pizza shop owner around the corner? You know what I mean? Did you feel similarly in terms of the way the movie was structured and the way that Li Fong came into karate and how that progressed over time? To me, that was like a huge red flag, because I was like, I don't understand. And now he's training this legendary boxer. Like, it didn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying. I felt the same thing when it came to him fighting those men, because he just became awesome. Like, after getting his ass beat. But I don't know. I just felt like he didn't once they got Daniel in there, I just feel like they didn't really need him. I don't know, to teach him Miyagi-Do even. Like, it just felt unnecessary.
I agree. I feel like it was just so weird that it was cool that he was already trained and like he had like the kung fu background. But it kind of defeated a purpose. I feel like with these movies, it's like you want to watch like a character that like wants to learn karate, and then like by the end they're like, whoa, like how did they get to that version of themselves, sort of thing. And so like I feel like that's why that wasn't even rewarding with this film, because it's like, yeah, like he got his ass beat in that first scene, and then like, yeah, he was able to fight, and he still kind of got his ass beat by those men in that alley, but he was still pulling out crazy tricks. And it also, like I said before, you like there was barely even any karate. Like that's like those two scenes, and then maybe like three other small scenes I could think of, and then the last scene are like the only times you really see karate. And even when you see that, it's like they try to do it like they don't shoot it like your typical karate kid. Like they try to do it almost like a boxing like fight. Like everything is like
felt that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then like the animations as well. I'm sorry, I'm like getting so far. I was just start shitting on this.
Well,
film.
no, but that's the last
going.
third of the movie. So Ellie, again, you're an editor.
Yeah.
So that last third of the movie, when they get to the Five Boroughs tournament, it's not shot and edited like Michael was saying in a way that kind of feels like video gamey.
Yes.
Too.
Yeah,
So I'm curious on your thoughts on how that sequence played for you, because for me it was like jarring. It felt like it was something where this is like a crazy reference. I don't know if anyone's gonna understand, but I felt like I was watching like a karate movie set in like the same world as like You Got Served. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like they tried to make something where they were like, yo, 2 points for this. You get a point for this. Knockout. And I was like the announcer took me so out of the Five Boroughs scene.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this doesn't happen. Like we don't have play-by-play people in karate tournaments. Like that's not the way it works, you know? So what did you think?
I don't know. I guess I was just expecting something like the tournaments we've had in the past. I don't know. So I guess when I was watching it, I'm like, oh, they're doing something different, so this is kind of cool. But I just kept thinking like why are they doing something so different? If it's supposed to be a reference to the movies, or I don't know, to follow some kind of similar pattern like that people are going to want to feel. I don't know. So I felt like everything was done still really fast, and some of the editing was really great. It was just very different, and I don't know if that was the right choice. It was interesting though.
It's an interesting stylistic choice for sure. Michael, what did you think about all of that?
You know, I hated it.
Okay. I was being positive.
No, I did not like it. I think that for me, this was like a moment of realization. And again, going off of before, like also Lee's character, just like being kind of like a pro, but then also having to learn a lot. What's it called? And before I kind of say more about this last scene, I just want to reference this too. Like you see like him get like his ass kicked to this first scene, and then immediately it cuts to his brother doing this badass kick in the air and him being like pretty much close to doing it. And I'm just like, how does that match up with what it doesn't. But then you get to this fight after like the montage. The editing of it, I disliked it so much. I felt like this was the moment when I realized this is this franchise's Space Jam 2. And I don't know if you guys have seen Space Jam 2, but they botched that movie hard by trying to create their own version of basketball, essentially. And so I completely understand. I do your reference. I do. And like the things that played out, even like the animation that they used. At one point I was like, oh, this could be kind of cool. Like,
yeah,
it was very contrasty from what we had gotten. But like the points and like the stuff like that was Space Jam 2, which was like animated like little things, and like it just was like it kind of took me out. It did. And like I didn't like Space Jam 2, if that's not clear. So I for me, once that comparison hit, then that's when I was really like, oh, this movie is bad. I'm not a fan of what they're doing here.
I thought that also, even like little nitpicky things, but like the last fight. So every round as Lee's kind of going along in the tournament, he's knocking out people left and right. And like the ref just looks at the guy and they're like, he's done, knockout. He gets a 10 count. Why are we so the only purpose he's getting a 10 count is because he's our lead character. Like there's no other explanation for it. Like the way that they construct this version of Karate Kid also doesn't play into the version of Karate Kid they're making. Like they don't, like you just brought it up too. Like the fact that Lee is that close to being able to do a dragon kick, and then he's just like, I can't fight. You know, like I'm gonna get my ass beat by this dude Connor. Like I need training from not only my great uncle but also Daniel LaRusso. It just doesn't make any sense towards the plot of the movie. So it leaves you wondering, like, so much of this movie is just like, why? Like, why did they decide to go ahead and make something like this? Because the only thing for me is that it's like, I said this jokingly off camera to Michael, but I'm going to use it on camera. I don't care. It's boomer bait. Like, this is so much into the moment of like, we're going to take the ideas of what the Karate Kid is and we're going to keep all of that intact. Plus, we're going to give you Jackie Chan. Plus, we're going to give you Ralph Macchio. But if you're a young person, we're going to add really flashy graphics. And we're going to add really good music, which I will say, to me, is the biggest stand of the whole movie. I thought the soundtrack was amazing for this movie. I couldn't actually believe that there were so many songs in this movie where I was like, yes, I'm so happy this song is in this movie. But it does play into that like modern pop, hip hop sort of element that they go for with this, where I think it could play something where it could take you out of it from time to time, you know?
One thing I don't know if this directly relates, but I just thought that Ralph Macchio, or Daniel, felt so out of place in some of the scenes, because especially during the tournament, just watching him being there, I'm like, I don't know, I feel like he doesn't need to be here, kind of. And I'm surprised that they did this with his character too, because Ralph Macchio, originally was, I think, hesitant to do Cobra Kai because he was quote unquote protective of his character. So I don't know, I just feel like this is interesting choice for Daniel. Maybe he's changed in the few years that in the gap here. But I don't know. It was just interesting seeing Daniel at a fight like this and not just at one of the tournaments that we've seen before. So
yeah, I feel that Ralph Macchio probably has seen the appreciation on a deeper level now with Cobra Kai, that he probably was like, this is still gonna be good for some people. Yeah. There's still a hunger for Karate Kid, so we can go ahead and make more of these. But I agree with you, Ella. I don't understand necessarily why Daniel would even be there in the first place, and what Daniel even the scene where they meet each other, when Daniel and Ahan meet, it doesn't play into anything with Miyagi at all.
No, I thought they were gonna know each other for some reason. I don't know. I thought
they would have met previously. Or
yeah,
something.
I don't know. So I expected Daniel to just come home, them be a reunion. Because when he said he was going to see a friend in California, I thought that he meant Daniel. Because I thought they knew each other through Miyagi.
Yeah.
Which I mean was, I guess, fine, but I don't know. That's just what I was expecting.
Well, for me also with Cobra Kai, it's they probably had a much cheaper budget. I mean, their budgets grew over time on Netflix, but we get some shoddy CGI in Cobra Kai.
Yeah.
When it comes to the aging, right? But why can't you do it with a bigger budget in a Hollywood movie in this to give us something? You know what I mean? I'm so curious on what the budget for this movie is. Okay, that's cheap. Is it $45 million? Now, it's not, I shouldn't say none of us have $45 million on here, by the way. But $45 million is the definition of mid-budget. That's very shocking. The movie already has made $46.3 million. So, worldwide. So, it's going to do very well, because if it now, word of mouth obviously isn't the greatest. We're kind of crapping on the movie a bit. But yeah, it's already made its money back before marketing. So, it only needs to make another probably $20 million to be over that threshold where it's profiting. So I think it'll hit that easily. And I do think that there will still be more Cobra Kai fans that go and see this. I came out of the movie and told my mom, it was all right. I was hoping it was going to be better. And she's like, I really wish it was better. I love Karate Kid. And it's people are still going to go see this movie because it's Karate Kid.
That's exactly what I said to my parents when I came home. I was like, I don't know.
Do you think your parents would like this movie more than you do?
Yeah. 100%. I don't know. My dad was like, but it still has potential, right? I'm like, yeah, go see it.
Did your mom like it more than you did?
Not at all.
She didn't? Okay.
We were both equally on the same. We were both laughing at one point together about how off track the film was getting with things. I'm trying to remember specific. Normally, yeah, no, because my mom, you'll know when she likes a movie, and she walked out and she was like, I don't like this movie. And so I was like, oh yeah, okay, so she didn't like this one. But justified. It's just not a good movie, to me, at least.
Well, we do get one more thing that is it's not even really a credit stinger because we kind of just get the logo and then we get like the final scene where we do get the return of a Cobra Kai character. So Johnny Lawrence does get a mini appearance in this, and I do think that was probably orchestrated by Ralph Macchio, if I had to guess. And it's basically just for a gag. It's really just for like a laugh. And it's nice to see Johnny there, but we were joking before we even started recording about how there's no significance to it. It's literally just like, you gotta try this pizza because like I got it from New York. So we're, again, big fans of Cobra Kai on here. So wrapping up our thoughts, I guess it's more to kind of discuss if they were to do a sequel to this movie, which would require a lot of kind of different approaches to how they would go about making a sequel. We do get a finality to Cobra Kai, but the characters obviously are still around. They're doing different things. You just went to a Cobra Kai convention over the weekend, Ella, so you could speak to sort of the love of this franchise from these actors. For you, as someone who's a diehard Cobra Kai person and think this movie is probably just okay, we didn't get your score yet, but how would you want to see them transition into a sequel?
I feel like it would be really great if somehow Lee was able to connect with like Miguel and Robbie somehow, or even like Tori and Robbie on their like tour or whatever they're on right now. One thing I thought about when the movie was over was I wish that Lee had seen something about like the Seikai Taikai or something, like knowing that Daniel like was a part of like they won like a worldwide championship. So like I'm surprised that wasn't mentioned. So I feel like bringing that connection into there and like Lee meeting like everyone Daniel's trained before, training at Miyagi-Do would be really cool to see.
Yeah, it's really just Lee running a pizza place at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Which
like,
is an interesting choice.
I know, because Lee was such a great character and his actor's so great. I feel like his character would fit in so well with the characters that everyone like adores, with Miguel, Robbie, and all the kids.
I agree with that.
And speaking of the convention, there were so many people there and so many fans that were still there to support them, and everyone was walking around dressed in gis and all of that stuff. And I really like, I did not expect it to be so many people, but there's such a big following that I think anything that they do next, and especially if they involve all these actors that everyone went to go see, would still be pretty big.
Yeah, it's a super passionate fan base.
Yeah.
Another small thing that also bothered me is that Lee doesn't wear a gi until the last fight. Did you realize that? Lee does not wear a gi until the last fight. This is a karate tournament. What are we doing, everybody?
It didn't feel like a karate tournament.
It didn't feel like a karate tournament. It felt like a breakdancing contest. Dude, what was happening in this movie? All right, Michael, Cobra Kai, how would you like to see them connected? I know you're not a fan of this movie, but if there was a way where maybe they brought in the creators of Cobra Kai as producers on the next movie and they bring in maybe a different director, but probably different writers, how would you want to see them continue that story on? Or are you just done? Are you like, I'm Karate Kidded out, I'm Cobra Kai out?
I'm not Cobra Kai out. I'm not. I would love to see more of those characters. I remember hearing that there might be a Cobra Kai spinoff.
Yeah.
So there, there's room for it. I will say the ending did end in a way too, with him being like, let me know if you ever need any help. Like, they did end it in a way where they could do it. I don't really want to see that, but like, for me to want to see it, and for it to be successful, I genuinely do agree with you, Ella, where I feel like they do need to now start to tie in these other characters, even if they only make one, and use that as like a way to now, as far as the kids at least, tie them all together. Maybe have a Jaden Smith cameo, like go to that extent, but then like if they treated that as like then a like finale to it all, then I would appreciate it to a degree. I don't think it's needed at all. I really don't. I think that as much as I want a continuation of Cobra Kai, it does end in a very like nice way. It ends perfectly, and it's one of those things where maybe they shouldn't, maybe like if they do want to do another thing like this, just reboot it from the beginning. But also with that, like how many times we're going to do this reboot, so it's like they probably will, hearing especially how much it's made, like money back, and that it probably will make a lot more back being in the franchise. They probably will make a sequel. But yeah, I agree. It needs to start to tie much more of this Miyagi verse together. So they need to have their Avengers Endgame essentially.
Yeah. I think they need to focus more, if they do a sequel, on Lee's story. Let's get more of Ben Wang and his charm and who he is as a character, and let's choose a different method of shooting our karate sequences. Because the breakneck camera angles mixed with the quick editing,
it was not karate.
It's not karate. It makes it way too it's not as organic to follow. With Cobra Kai, all the sequences, you see them really play out from beginning to end, and obviously they get a lot crazier by the time we get to the final season. But I didn't love the way that they shot the karate sequences in this. It didn't play true effect. Like it kind of shot like a boxing like match, where with like the quick editing and things like that. So again, probably a choice. But at this point, we've been talking about this movie for a while, so it is time for scores. Should we start with you? I want to start with you.
Let me start.
I want to start with you. I want to see how low you go.
The last thing I will say about this film that again pisses me off is that this dragon kick. That was another funny moment where like I remember like the brother did it for the first time, and like my mom out loud was just like, "Oh, he bad." Like it was like it's so like there was no payoff in that last scene. Like I feel like every Karate Kid movie should have like he like knocked like the bad guy down sort of thing off a move we haven't seen. At that point, we had seen that move throughout the entirety of the movie, and we watched him successfully do it like in the training. Like it was never something that he just pulled out of his sleeve. It was like, gotcha. So such a letdown. With that, I'm giving this movie a 3 out of 10.
Okay. Ellie, you want me to go next, or you want to go next?
Yeah, you go next.
Okay. So I'm not going to go as low as a 3. I do think that there are a lot of problematic elements to this film that don't necessarily make it feel like a movie. There are aspects of it that I do enjoy, though. Ben Wang, to me, as I said, I think does such a great job in this movie. Jackie Chan, having not known his previous version of Mr. Han, I loved his character in this movie. I thought he was hilarious. I loved seeing his interactions with Lee. So I loved him in it. Sadie Stanley, she was a standout to me in another film that I had seen recently. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I think she also does a good job in this movie, and I think her chemistry with Lee really works. I liked the soundtrack in the movie, and the elements that they take from the original Karate Kid do work well in this movie. There's just not enough of them, and they rely too heavily on trying to spoon feed things to the audience, and then also mixing in different elements of the structure that doesn't play well. So I think that they needed to beef up the script a lot more and really find a story for Lee that was more than just a love interest. Like, we needed to know more than that, and it couldn't have just been his brother being stabbed, who we have no connection to. So having said that, I don't think it's the worst movie I've ever seen, and I was somewhat entertained by it. So I'm going to give it a 5. Now that might be high, but I think it's mid. I think it's a mid movie. It's a short watch. It's an hour and a half. And there's probably about 40 minutes of that hour and a half that I do enjoy. So I'm going to give it a 5. Ella.
So I feel pretty similarly, honestly. I was entertained when I was watching it, but I also just kept thinking, I don't know why this is all happening. I feel like my favorite parts was the beginning when I saw young Daniel and Miyagi, which is maybe just my nostalgia speaking or something. But I think for that nostalgia factor, I was thinking a 5.5 or a 6 out of 10.
Okay.
Which is a little high, I guess, but I don't know. I guess I still appreciate what they tried to do, and even though I'm a little disappointed, I hope that Lee's character was enough to maybe give us more
in the future. Yeah. Your heartbeat's strong for Karate Kid, Ella. You can't stop that.
Yeah, I guess so. But I just kept thinking, I'm like, I really wish that everyone else was here right now.
Yeah.
In this movie, and I wish they did Miyagi do a little bit better. Because I don't know, I just felt like it was kind of like thrown in, but I was so excited when I saw that Mr. Han was like going to like Miyagi's house and stuff. But like those were like the moments that I was like, oh my god, and then otherwise I was just kind of like, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I guess maybe like as we've been talking about it, it's my 6 that I originally came in with today has gone more down to like 5. So yeah, again, just mid.
Yeah,
middle.
pretty mid. Not good. Not necessarily bad. Michael hates it. So, but
for me,
it's valid. It's valid.
It is valid. All your points are valid. But maybe we're in the minority. Again, this movie has grossed $46.3 million as of this recording, which is June 3rd. The movie just came out on May 30th. So maybe we're wrong. Let us know in the comments. Do you guys agree with us? Maybe you guys entirely disagree with us. Definitely want to hear from Cobra Kai fans as well. Were you guys disappointed with the lack of Cobra Kai references and Karate Kid references that we got in this film? We'd love to have a conversation with you guys in the comments, so please let us know. Give this video a like if you guys can, and subscribe to us here at the Culture Raid Media Network. This is not the only movie we've been covering. We have a lot of other reviews up on the page, so you guys can check out all that stuff for film and television. There's tons of stuff. I don't have to name all of it, but if you're a fan of anything in film and TV, we've probably covered it at this point. So check out all our stuff. Follow us on social media. All that stuff is below me in the video. It's also in our YouTube description. We're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on Threads, we're on TikTok. Bunch of places for you guys to check out clips from our podcast and some news and some other stuff. So thank you guys for joining us. Just signing off. I am Darian Scalamoni.
I'm Ella Lambiazzi.
And I'm Michael Peniston.
And we'll see you guys next time.
This is The Culture.